Bad things happen to good people, but just because terrible things may happen or the opportunities and breaks that you want don't come your way when you need them the most, doesn't mean they never will. You simply just have to learn to trust the timing of your life. So how do you do that? Let's live out loud with Just Angie next. Hello and welcome to Sheila Lives Out Loud. My name is Sheila Murenga. Thank you for finding this channel. Please click subscribe and hit notifications. That way you never miss an episode when we upload. And we are living out loud at the waterfront. Karen, you've arrived. This is East Africa's premier destination for shopping, for retail, for well-being, the whole gamut. Be sure to pop in and spend a fantastic day with family and friends, but even better, be a tenant now. I'm going to call you Angie.
Yes, I'd love it because I'm not really into titles.
It's not, yeah.
No.
And you've never been big on titles.
I'm not.
It's just Angie.
Just
In fact,
Angie.
that's your handle.
Yes, I even have a
Just
Facebook handle.
Angie.
Yeah, Just Angie, you know. If you look for Just Angie, you'll find me.
All right.
Yeah.
So Angie, I'd like us to talk about trusting the timing of your life. Because I feel, and this is also largely from my own personal experiences, there's a lot of things in my life that have happened to me and I've wanted to give up. I've wanted to walk away. I couldn't understand. I was asking, but why, but how, but why? And I couldn't find the answers then. And far too many people are giving up. Far too many people come to the first brick wall and it all stops there. It all ends there. Life suddenly has no beauty. Life has no meaning. Life has no purpose. There's no reason to keep going forward. But really everything is about timing.
Yes, it is.
I'd like us to unpack that.
And as we unpack that, I'm going to unpack it using your story and using mine. Because I remember the first time when I was coming to AM Live, of course I'd heard about Sheila Murenga. I think I'd even seen you on maybe hosting Tusker Project Fame or something. So I'd seen you, but I didn't know you. And I don't even know why I was coming to AM Live, but I was coming anyway. But I remember that as I was getting ready in the morning, the Lord just said to me, you're not going to AM Live to go for AM Live, you're going for Sheila. And so I was like, going for Sheila? So I sort of sat up.
What
I was
does
like,
this
okay,
mean?
let's be attentive and see why we're going for Sheila. And I always remember, you know, that clip is no longer on air, but for some reason, when we did the show, first of all, I felt like we flowed.
Yeah.
You know, it was such an amazing show. It was just seamless and it went really well. But when I came off the show, people told me, oh, we saw you praying. And I was wondering, how did they know that we prayed?
Right.
But the cameraman captured, because I said, let's pray when we finished.
Yeah.
But the cameraman captured that shot. You know, the shot was me praying for you and it ended like that. But then after that, if you look at it, even for me, all hell seemed to break loose. I mean, everything that could go wrong went wrong.
It all went wrong.
And I was telling God, excuse me, no, you can't do that to me, you know, because I'm also like, things have to go the right way.
Yes.
But so much happened, Sheila, and I was even scared to talk to you now. I was like, I better stay away from that child because I don't know what's going on.
What am I going to tell her?
What series of events are these that have started? It looks like everything is going wrong.
Right.
But you know, I'm just amazed because after that we caught up, I think after that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I like people to give people breathing space. So I said, let me just give you breathing space because I'm also trying to figure out what was that? What happened? How do you pray for somebody on national TV and the whole world sees you praying and then after that it looks like everything goes wrong?
Your job,
you know?
suddenly
you
you're
lose your
just not quite sure where you're going. What are you going to do next?
What does that mean? But for me, that's exactly how God works.
Right.
And look at now at the restoration. I have no idea why he did, why things went the way they did. But maybe if we look at it now, there'd be no Sheila Lives Out Loud, number one.
True.
Maybe we wouldn't be here right now. Maybe there wouldn't be any Rembesha. I don't know when Rembesha had started.
No.
Maybe all those things would not have happened. And then look now, I feel like you're going back onto a platform. I think God is trying to open some doors that will launch you out in a bigger, more better way.
Oh, wow.
So in terms of timing and seasons of life, we've got to let God lead. And especially if you believe in God. And you know, whichever God you believe in. Or if you believe somebody or something is controlling your life, you know, because we have a birthday, but we don't know when we're going to leave this earth. So somebody is in charge of at least times and seasons. Then what we need to do is to sort of abandon and to allow him, or to allow, for me it is God, to take steps into your life. And then it may not always make sense. When I look at my life, I mean, when I look back now, I was actually laughing. I was just contemplating as I was coming here that I made a big shift in my life 11 years ago. I think 11 years ago, yeah. 11 years ago, I left my work. I was working. I had a position. It was a national position. It was in sales and marketing. It was of a top brand. And I just felt God calling me in a different direction, but he was calling me to church. But nobody could understand that. But even before I go through all that, 11 years after, I mean, if you told me the car that I'm driving today, I would be driving that car, I'd have laughed at your face. I mean, if you told me the life that I live now is the life that I was going to live, I'd have said, this is crazy. I mean, I couldn't see it at all. It wasn't in the horizon. It wasn't in the pictures. It wasn't something that I'd ever thought about, but it has happened. So as I was thinking about that, that if we can't really see today what's coming tomorrow. And it will be good things. We don't have to always want bad things to happen.
Yeah.
Good things are happening. God has great plans for us, but we've just got to let them unfold. And then everything has to happen in his perfect timing. Right. Timing is all about him. But these days also I find a lot of people are cutting short their lives, which they shouldn't, because you can't see the end. I couldn't see the end. You couldn't see the end. I don't know how many years that was. We couldn't see ourselves
it was 3 years.
At this. 3 years ago.
Yeah.
We didn't know that this was going to happen. We didn't know that you're going to have this show, that you're going to do Rembesha, that there's so many other things that you're starting and about to enter into, and yet it looked like everything had fallen apart.
Everything had come to a complete standstill. I mean, Pastor Angie, I will say, when everything happened and I went home and I knew tomorrow morning I don't have to wake up very early to go to work. The next morning, of course, you wake up on time. You don't even need the clock to wake you up. Yeah. And there was just this silence. It was just still. And you hear all your neighbors in the compound driving off, and they're off to work. And you're sitting there still in bed and you're asking yourself, where shall I go? Where will I go? Where will I fit in? What's left for me to do? God, I thought I was in your purpose. I thought I was doing the right thing. But here I am lying in bed instead of going to work and build something and create something. What do I do? And I know there are a lot of people who are in those situations where everything has come to a complete standstill and it's just silence.
Silence is good. Because sometimes you have to be lost in that silence, just to be able to listen to yourself, internalize, evaluate, paint up different scenarios, and immediately, I mean, if I look back now, the first thing you should have done is rested. Maybe you didn't, but
I should have
rest,
but I didn't.
But you get into this sort of panic mode, because I remember for me, my last day of work, there was a party done for me by the company, and they gave me this book, and I've never opened that book ever again. I don't know where it is. It was a Daily Bread, and I'd never even read Daily Bread before, but I remember I was like, what have I done? That's the panic I was expecting. As I was going through the motions of resigning from work and going into ministry, I was expecting panic, because I know I can panic. I can have a serious meltdown, and everyone will know I've had this meltdown. But I was very calm, and that always assures me, that's even another thing, that always assures me that I'm on the right track, that you have this inner stillness, you have this inner strength, you have this inner knowing that it's all going to be okay, even if you can't see how, and I'm sure you had it. So, but when I opened, I just looked at it, I said, oh my God, what have I done? I quit my job. What did I do? And then I opened this Daily Bread, and it said, you're walking into the unknown. Do not look back and keep moving forward. And that's what I've done. I've just kept moving forward. And I think life happens. I like to say life happens. But when life happens, don't stop. Don't stop. Or if you stop for a very short time.
Being still and stopping are two different things.
Stopping means you've given up.
Right.
Being still is, let me collect my thoughts. I think for the first thing you should do is sleep, in retrospect. Sleep and rest.
That's all I did.
And you see, it's good.
It's all I could do. Because where was I going?
Yeah. Sleep and rest. And then I think also for you, Sheila, I think you're on a journey, which a lot of people are on, and I think I am as well, where what are the things that identify us?
Yeah.
Because we want the job to identify. So if I don't have a job, there's a problem. If I don't have a spouse, there's a problem.
You define yourself by all these material things and physical things that can be taken away from you.
Which are value additions to life.
Right.
We celebrate life. I celebrate your life. I celebrate my life. I celebrate another person's life. We can't celebrate things.
Yeah.
If they come, great. If they don't, fine.
Still great, because there's you.
And that's what then makes people do desperate things, It just makes you maybe steal money. There's a big one for us in Kenya, It just, when you're not satisfied with who you are, when you're not secure in who you are, when you're identified by things, then you will go to every measure to get things. You know, sometimes I had a lady speak and she said, it was actually Bishop Rosie O'Neill, and she said, you've got to ask, why do you want the things that you want? That's a very, very important question to ask yourself. Why do I want this? Do I want this because of other people? Do I want this for me? Do I want it to make other people's lives better? What was I created for?
In talking about trusting the timing of your life, the timing of your life has got no bearing on the things. It's not about you should have this thing by this time. You should have this by this age. Because let's face it, I'm still also subject to a lot of, you know, criticism and conversation in terms of you haven't been married by this time. Why don't you have children? You are now of this age, and what is this you're still doing? You know, there's still a lot of pressure and judgment based on, but I don't have this, so maybe I'm not good enough, or because I'm not this, I don't fit in. I've never struggled with that bit. I've understood not to settle, because something like a marriage, something like children, these are lifetime commitments. You just don't make them for somebody else. And if the timing of my life says this doesn't happen for you at this time, as a society, we're not there yet. We're still prescribing, this should happen to you by this time. This should happen to you by this time. How do you not cave in to that kind of pressure?
By knowing who you are, by trusting that, for me, there's God out there who's in control of your life. Because the other day I went to my daughter's graduation. The way I've been brought up was that you have to do better for your children than was done for you. So I was able, by the grace of God, to have an education outside this country. So it used to disturb me. It used to really bug me when my daughter was growing up, like, how am I going to make this happen for her? And I didn't have that much money, so I would try to go to investment brokers and, you know, try to save the money, you know, these investment funds, you know, education funds. I mean, I went to so many, but I never did any of them. I don't even know how. But when I was standing there, she was graduating. By the grace of God, her dad has been able to educate her, and he's done a really good job in that, and I really commend him for that. But I stood there and I thought, I wasn't even in charge of this. I was trying to make myself in charge of getting out there an education, and it wasn't in my docket. So you're not in charge of it. When your husband comes, he will come. Yes, he will come. God knows how it's going to arrange that. When your children come, they will come. But when we try to take things into our own hands and plan them and execute them with excellence and have a facade and, you know, have this front there, but what's going on behind the scenes, keeping up with everyone else, with the Joses and the everybody else, then it's not going to work. If you wait for the perfect timing of God, then that will work. And for me, that's what I'm saying. If you had told me 10 years ago, 11 years ago, that I'd be sitting where I am, having what I have, I would have said it's not possible.
That doesn't happen.
I couldn't even see it. I couldn't picture it, you know. I was even telling somebody the other day, I couldn't even picture next week, let alone, you know how people have 5-year strategies.
Yes, those 5-year plans, I don't know what that is.
I don't have them. And I just understand wrong with you, but I said, okay, let me just flow. Because for me, I can see a year maybe, but I don't see 5 years, 10 years.
What do you do to stir yourself up on the inside? Because when you're down in the dumps, it can be difficult to distance yourself from the dumps, because you've been sitting in there and wallowing in there, and sometimes you may need some help getting out. So how do you break that mold that you find yourself in? Because you've been still, and the darkness still continues, and the, you know, just give up now is always a very loud voice. It's much louder than one more day. The voice that says end it can sometimes be much louder than one more day. Just wait. How do you stir up yourself?
I'm thinking number one is look at what's right with this picture. I like telling people that a lot. I think the Englishman is one who said every cloud has a silver lining. So there's a cloud, but there's a silver line. So examine what's right with this picture. What's right with my life right now? You know, and there are things there that are right in your life. You have life, you have health, you have vitality, you probably have family, you have, like for me, I think I had a child. There are so many things that are right in this picture. For me, I feel like maybe I have purpose, I have calling, I feel like I was created for something more. Number two, I think it's important to look at seasons and say, what do I need to do for this season? And what are the 5 or 4 things that I need to do now to get myself out of this hole? Because what I love about the human spirit is that we're very strong spiritually. That we really, if you ask somebody, what do I need to do? They will tell you. And if you held them up at gunpoint and said, articulate what you need to do, they will. So sort of, I feel like put yourself under some pressure and articulate what you need to do. And instead of saying, what are the 10 steps, say, what are the 5 things I need to do? I feel also accountability is another thing. you need to share with somebody, because sometimes we die alone, you know. You can't do that. Go share with somebody what you're going through. Think of through who you can trust. Go and share with that person, and let the person also hold you accountable.
Right.
And I think the other one is to get a mentor and a coach, because a coach is able to, a mentor coach, I'll even say a pastor. Yeah, somebody who's able to see something in you, and you can have a sit down where you have a conversation, and then you can have takeouts from that conversation, maybe things that you need to action. And then when you begin to action them, you begin to move.
Right.
Begin to make progress.
Another thing I'd like us to briefly touch on is, you know, and this is based on my own personal experience. I feel like when everything started going wrong, it was literally one thing after another. It was a whole snowball of things. And I read a book, the author was talking about the seasons for a tree and what happens to trees in winter. Of course, in Kenya, I don't know if that's the case, but they were saying during the winter season, that's when trees in countries where they have proper winter, they say that's when the roots go deeper. They move beyond what's happening on the surface because the surface is frozen. So that's when the roots sink in even deeper than when it's summer. And so sometimes in the winter of your life, your roots will have to dig in deeper. And in digging in deeper, it's not like you'll always have a support system around you. You could find you're literally all by yourself to figure this thing out.
But you had a book.
But exactly. Sometimes your help comes in very different forms, because it could be someone who's watching and say, I don't have a pastor, I give up church. My mom doesn't talk to me. You know, you'll find resources everywhere.
And I was going to say another thing that comes to mind is if you journal. You know, people who journal.
Yeah.
It's important. Sometimes it's good to journal, because when you can go back and see what he did. Because I'm feeling like if you've been through stuff before, when you go back and you read maybe the experiences and the hurdles, the obstacles, the challenges you've been able to overcome, that should encourage you that even this one can be done again. I'm going to be able to get out of this one. And then I was going to say another one is try Jesus. You know, I keep telling people about try Jesus. You know, you've tried everything else.
Just try. You've got nothing left to lose, really.
You've got nothing. You've hit rock. And for me, I know that's what happened. I hit rock bottom.
Right.
And the only thing that I did is I tried Jesus, and here I am, you know. And the fun Jesus, not the religious kind of Jesus, but the Jesus who's fun, who cares, who loves you, you know. I like even to say sometimes, as I've raised my own child, I've learned to see God as a father, because I've learned that, you see, my daughter, sometimes I can be so upset with her, but she'll just come and say one word, and that's it. Yeah, I'm done, and I'm like, okay, I forgot I was annoyed, or I'm like, okay, let's stop being annoyed now, let's do this. And you know, or I'll say, okay, next time don't do this and this and the other.
Again,
But as a parent, there's a way that you love your child that I don't know. You can't describe it. You can't describe it, but that's the way that God loves us as well. Right. When you think about it like that. So instead of him being this punishing God, he'll probably say, okay, I really don't like when you do that. Please don't do that again. But he'll come back. I mean, he loves us.
He's a father, really, when all is said and done.
And when you look at the fathers that are, you know, a father, we don't say it has to be perfect, but fathers love. Fathers love, fathers provide, fathers give direction, fathers give identity, you know. Fathers know when to be gentle, when to be firm, when to be merciful, when just to let love, you know.
Pastor, I believe you and I can speak up until dawn. We've literally seen the sunset and we're still here. And there's so much that we can talk about when it comes to restoration and time on the bench. And looking at my own life personally, I think when everything comes to a stop, you have to change, because you won't find time to change. You won't make that initiative, maybe because of pressures of life. But sometimes everything has to stop so you can sit on that bench to be better, to change, to grow up, to mature, to see things in a different way. But you've just got to be still. Sitting on the bench doesn't mean the game is over.
It's over.
It's just sitting on the bench, regrouping to get back in there. And there's something special that's coming up. Please tell us about the 6th edition of Unstuck. Because I spoke to you, I think, for the first one. Was it the first one?
Maybe the 4th, because you said it was like this, or the 3rd one.
Yeah.
I think that's actually what I was coming to do. I was coming to talk about Unstuck.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what's coming
Unstuck.
up.
I'm meditating on the bench, but we're having our 6th annual conference, the Unstuck conference. It's amazing. Unstuck really gets people unstuck, really does. You know, we have so many testimonies of people coming back and saying this happened and this happened. So what we usually do is we gather leaders. So this time we have a lot of industry leaders who will come and We'll have 3 different panels, and what we're talking about is redefining success.
Right.
So we find that people are just making decisions which are crazy, families are falling apart, lives are falling apart, people's health is falling apart. I mean, we have instances where people are very top jobs in the marketplace and they're giving it their all, and then something happens, some health issue happens, and that's it. I know the worst thing is that the job continues, the organization continues, the marketplace organization is not even shaken, but that person's life is completely, shaken. If it's ill health, if it's a turn of ill health, if something is wrong with them, that's it. And you gave your all to this organization. There has to be a balance,
Right.
There has to be a balance in what we're giving, because you give your all and then the organization continues, and then you're probably, or you give your all and you've forgotten your children, you've forgotten you have a family, you've forgotten your spouse, you've forgotten the balance of your own life, and we're just going, so that when something stops us, it's something huge. So I want to talk about redefining success. So we'll have 3 panels. We'll have one which is older, younger, so that the older people can talk to the younger people about the choices that they made. We will have some interesting people who've made some interesting choices. Like I'll always say, like Kanji's dad, I can't wait to talk to him because he made choices he made choices to spend time with his kids. A lot of time, every weekend, doing activities that they love, tennis, music, and really invested in his children, and want to see, look at the outcome of that. What happens when you make those choices, What happens when you make the choices that are not the right choices according to the world, but they're the choices that you feel need to make because you need to give something to society, need to give something to your children, because now we're sitting here enjoying Kanji's music. His daughter used to play tennis, but he was really committed as a father. So we want to hear from him what advised him to make those choices, and why aren't we making those choices? Then we want to talk about, we're also going to talk with people who from the industry, a promotion comes, let's say you've done your PhD or something and a promotion comes, but you turn it down. And you say, no, this is what I'm doing is my purpose. I'm living out my purpose. And that's why I want to do this as a leader. And therefore I don't want to do this. Then we've got somebody else who even turned down, people who turned down even partnerships. Because I'm not going to flow with your flow.
I have another flow.
I've
tapped into another well.
I am flowing. Exactly. Yes, I've tapped into another well,
right.
And me, I'm going to flow with that well. Yeah. So people who've done things that some of us people cannot dare to do. I can't say no to that. I have to say yes to this. Who said? Why can't you create your own flow, your own pattern? What success? What values are we bringing even to work? What values are we bringing to our everyday work or to our everyday marketplace? So anyway, that's the conversation. It will be on the 4th of August at the Radisson Blu. It's a prepaid event because also that's a culture that we're trying to put into Kenyans, that if you want to come to an event, you pay for it in advance,
pay for it,
so that we know that you're coming and we can prepare for you.
Plan
appropriately for you. So I'm really looking forward to that, to the Unstuck annual conference this August. I really am.
Fantastic.
And I'm sure I'm going to see you there.
Oh yes,
I'm definitely going to see you
with
there.
all my people. We will show up, we will come in, because I know great things happen when you begin to see your purpose, when you begin to trust that nothing that's happened to you was a mistake or a coincidence or an oops. There's a reason behind every single thing that happens. Some things you'll find out, but ultimately there's no coincidence. Everything in its own time.
And there's something brewing in my head when you're talking about stopping and the seasons, because we're talking about season. I'm just thinking that there's a season to stop and to be still. There's a season of action. There's a season of evaluation. You must continuously evaluate what's going on in my life, what's working, what's not working, sort of like have a debrief with yourself, a time of evaluation. And then there'll be a time now to enjoy the better things in life, because maybe you're in retirement, you can enjoy your grandchildren, you can enjoy, just a season of life of being still, and it's a nice still because it's not as fast-paced as all the others. So I think even in terms of that, we need to look at that and look at what season am I in. And even for me, I'm thinking like right now, my daughter's older now, she's like 24. So I'm in a different season. When she was a small girl, I was running around after her, making sure this is done, dropping off homework and all that. Now I'm in a season where I'm an empty nester,
Right. So that's a new season.
That's a new season.
Right.
So just not every situation, no situation is permanent. Let's work through the season that we're in and understand the timings of your season and understand that it's not always going to be
like that forever. The season's already changing. What
Angie.
wonderful words to wind up this conversation. Angie, thank you so much for making the time to be here. I look forward to listening to you speak at Unstuck. And of course, you will come back.
Yes.
This is our home,
Definitely. This is our home.
We have arrived.
We have arrived. We are staking our claim.
You always make my day.
Oh, you
Remember, the conference is coming up, so book your space, pay for your slot. You can find out more information on my social media handles. You can see them, we've been scrolling them throughout the show. And we are going to share, of course, Angie's social media handles as well, so you can register and get inspired to keep moving, even if being in motion means being still, just for a moment. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Sheila Lives Out Loud at the Waterfront. Karen, you've arrived. If you're setting up shop, your business is beginning to boom, maybe you want to expand it a little bit, this is the place where you should be. So come out, book your spot as a tenant and enjoy. I mean, look at us, we have arrived. Until our next episode, live out loud in all that you do. Bye for now.